Hello, everyone. My name's Joe. This is the Still Talking podcast, where we bring a guest on every single week, every single Wednesday. I'm so happy today is episode one. We're talking about interest rates with my good friend, Cory DaSilva. Welcome, Cory.
Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you, Cory? I'm so glad you're here today. I wanted to get this episode out to everybody. It's the very first episode. I feel like it's a very important subject. Talk about these interest rates right now. They are crazy high. What do you think, Mr. DaSilva?
Oh, the interest rates, a topic everyone wants to talk about, right? I feel like I'm asked this almost every single day at this point, and I find it incredibly, honestly, boring to talk about at this point. I feel like every single day we're in here, we're talking about interest rates. But it's trendy, it's timely. Joe, I appreciate being your first guest. I think that's we should note that.
This is Cory. He is the very first guest on the Still Talking podcast. We originally had this thing pushed out in the beginning on Spotify with a couple listeners, but
Okay.
we're taking this thing on a more serious route now.
I didn't think we were jumping right into business right away. I
No,
thought there'd be a
listen.
little warm up first.
Listen. We want to get into the juicy facts, Cory.
Interest rates. That's the
Interest
juiciness,
rates.
right?
This is the juicy facts. We want the expert Cory DaSilva's opinion on it.
Sure.
What are rates right now? What is the normal interest rate right now for home buyers?
So right now, someone with decent credit is getting between probably between 7 and 8. I know it sounds like a massive range, but it really just depends on your credit scores, your debt to income ratios. If you're using a mortgage broker versus your kind of local credit union, each bank will have different rates. Each customer will have a different rate, but you're roughly between 7 and 8% right now
Okay.
at
And-
the time of filming this.
And for those viewers that don't know, DTI, debt to income ratio, what is that? What is debt to income ratio?
So your debt to income ratio is literally how much money you make, and I'm going to break it down really basic terms here. I'd recommend getting a loan officer on here if you want the nitty gritty of it.
Of course.
But debt to income ratio is literally how much money you make and how much debt you're carrying. They want to see that you're not in more debt than what you're making, and if it's sustainable that you can afford your past debts.
Yeah.
Debts can include car payments, mortgage payments, student loan payments, past credit card bills, medical bills. Anything that is considered debt is factored into that debt to income ratio.
Yeah. And so a lot of the younger generations stepping into the home buying, they're seeing the prices be as high as they are, and they may not be making as much money because they're not in their career yet. How can we help those younger generation, those younger people, get them approved for home loans and get them buying?
It's a great question. It's tough right now. I don't want to say it's a crazy market. I would say it's competitive, but affordability is the biggest issue that we're struggling with right now. Home prices keep going up, and we're not seeing any signs of that slowing down right now just because there's no inventory. And the rates are going up. Historically, when rates go up, prices go down. That's what everyone thought would happen. That's what everyone says. Again, if you talk to your parents, your grandparents, that's what they're going to say. Rates go up, houses go down. It always happens like that. Well, guess what? For the last year, we've entirely proved that wrong. So if you're a first-time home buyer right now, what can you do to separate yourself? Save money. That's the reality of it. Save money, have a higher down payment. That way, especially when you're getting into multiple offer situations, that 20% down, that 25% down will really separate you in a time like this. So I think financial literacy is important. Credit is important. Start working on these things while you're in college. If you're still trying to, if your goal is to buy a house outside of college, start planning inside college. Get your credit right. If something that even worked with some of my clients in the past is they'll come out of school, they don't have a credit history. Well, they just become an authorized user on their parents' credit card, and that can jump them 100 points in a month or two. So quick little things to start building credit is going to help, especially if you're rate conscious right now. Having a higher credit score is going to help you qualify for those lower rates.
I mean, the average home price. Can we get a fact checked on this, Antara? What's the average home price in America right now?
You want to go America or Massachusetts?
Let's do Massachusetts. I mean, get more zoned in. What's it? Probably like 600, 500 around there. It's probably up there now.
I would say we're probably looking like 450 to 500. And again, Massachusetts is so broad that you really should go city by city.
Yeah. So what was your guess? Well, I said like closer to 600.
And you said, well, that's really good actually. I'm showing it now, but it is according to Zillow, $590,000.
Wow.
Is the average home value.
Home value in
The home
Massachusetts.
value. Okay.
Yeah, which is up 4.3% over the past year.
So we're up 4.3% over the past year in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
What was that last one?
Going to pending in about 8 days.
So yeah, so going to pending in 8 days, average home price is almost 600,000. Joe was closer than I was there. Again, it's city by city. It's going to drastically differ. Even that's why when you look at averages, you have to really focus in on being hyper local. What your area is like, what towns you're looking in, what that market is. Because averages can really be skewed a lot.
Yeah. Well, and if you go on to Cape Cod and get all the home prices out there,
Yeah, it's going to be very different than up near Boston.
exactly. Compare it to anywhere else.
Or go out towards Western Mass.
The averages are definitely different. And 600 was on the higher end, but it just goes to show you prices keep climbing. It's a seller's market, but these rates keep coming up too. But
Yeah.
what is the turning point, Corey, do you think in your mind? Where does this stop? Where do these rates come down? How do we see them coming down? And if they do we see a crash?
Great questions again. We don't have a crystal ball. You know what I mean? That's the one thing I'll tell everyone. Everyone thought rates were already going to be down. And everything keeps fighting us. At the time of this, we're just seeing what's kind of happening overseas as well with that potential war going on. Is that going to escalate more? At the time when rates originally jumped up a few years back, that was right when the Ukraine-Russia war started. All of those factors play into what our rates are. Inflation plays into what our rates are. Based on what the economists are saying, we're seeing these rates for at least another year. So if everyone thinks, oh, okay, it's going to go down to 4, 3, 2%, in my opinion, I think that's highly unlikely. Yeah. Those were historically low rates. The odds of going back to something historically that low ever again is going to be really, really rare. I think in a normal market, we're setting in summer rates between 4 and 6%.
Yeah. Well, and then back in the 1980s, rates were well above 10.
Yeah, we had rates 10. Well above 10, but then home prices were like 60 to 70,000. Again, it all balances out. Yeah. That's why I always tell people, when you're ready to buy is the time to buy.
Yeah. Everyone says, when is the best time to buy? When is the best time to buy?
Yep.
Well, as professionals in the industry, now is the best time to buy, right?
It's whenever you're ready. Whenever you're in your life, that moment of your life that you feel, all right, I have everything together. I have a steady job. I have 2 steady jobs. I'm looking to start a family. Now is the time I want to consider getting into the housing market. Because a lot of people, what ends up happening is these same conversations for the last 2 years we've had with buyers. Oh, I'm going to wait. Oh, I'm going to wait. Oh, I'm going to wait. Okay, well, now you're 2 years later and it's gone up. So what are you waiting for? There's no guarantee with when you wait. And on the investor side of things, it's not timing the market. You're never going to time the market perfectly. It's time in the market. So if you're constantly in and out, if you're flipping, renting, whatever it is, being in and out of the market, maybe you win some, maybe you lose some. But over the course of history, it will end up evening out or actually end up being a positive in your favor.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so, like, let's switch the conversation. What's more of the future? I mean, I know we don't have a crystal ball. I know we can't predict everything down to the exact number. But in the next year, we have elections. We have
absolutely that's going to affect things.
We have conflict everywhere in the world right now. Where do we see rates moving? How do we see home prices moving? What is your prediction into the next 2 years in this economy?
So I think we're going to see a lot of what we see right now. That's the reality of it. A lot of stale, so to speak. We're kind of at a gridlock, and we need things to open up and free flow a little bit more. Going into elections, it always affects things. Typically, the side in office usually wants to make housing seem more and more affordable, or come out with some type of incentive program. Again, to try to stay in office, make themselves look good, while the other side is going to attack it and say there's issues and things like that. That's usually how election season will go. But over the next couple of years, we have to battle inflation. There's a big issue right now with the U.S. dollar not being worth what it once was. And honestly, I don't know how the government is going to fix that.
And I'd like to add into that, because I was recently reading up on, let's just say there was a war. Let's just say there's any conflict that involves the United States.
Mm-hmm.
There's checks and balances that go through, and commodities are where you put your money. Real estate is an asset that it technically is a commodity in a sense, right? It's something that's real. It's fixated to the land.
Put your money in dirt.
Put your money in dirt. Would you give that advice to anyone going into this rough economy, is try to get into a house, or is there another piece of advice you'd add on to that?
It's really going to depend on everyone's situation, but if you have the money and you want to own a home, and it just depends what your goals are as well. Are you an investor? Are you a flipper? Is this your forever home? What is your goals? Giving such blanketed advice is, I always kind of shy away from that because you just can't. Everyone's situation is so different. So that's why if you have a question, is it the right time for me? Is it not the right time for me? Sit and talk with an expert like Joe and really go over your situation, what your life is, what your life path is, what's your 5-year plan, what's your 7-year plan, what's your 10-year plan. And then from there, you can decide, is it the time for me to buy? Should I go in another direction? Should I consider another town even? Where's your job going to take you in a few years? We're seeing the effects of COVID right now where a lot of people, everyone moved out of their house, work from home. Okay, well, work from home now is really being frowned upon. And a lot of big companies are saying, no, we're not going to allow that anymore. Everyone come back.
Yep.
So is there going to be a big, there was a mass exodus from the cities. So now is there going to be a bunch of people coming back into the cities?
Yeah. I personally see with everything the way it's going, election year's coming up, we have conflict everywhere, the economy, as everyone says, it's in the dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
I feel this is just a very broad, right, too. I'm very excited for what's to come, truly. If we're talking on how bad this economy can be in 2-3 years, then why don't we look about how the good things can come from that? All right, if prices are going to fall down, putting your money in something that's actually going to be tangible, you're going to be able to pull out when the economy's starting to do good again. I mean, what? People were doing refis a couple years ago, making so much money, pulling money out of their house. If prices fall back again, people getting houses now, own it for another 10 years. The economy will pump back up again. It's a matter of time. I look at this as a bigger opportunity, right?
Okay.
I don't like to be very negative on the real estate market. That's something you preach as well all the time, right? You can't have negative, things arise when you're working in the industry as a professional. It's just not going to go well for you, right? You always have to keep that positive attitude. And I think as we get later in these years and we see real estate, maybe climb higher, maybe these rates go even higher, I do think this is just more opportunity. More opportunity. I want to know what your take is on that. Do you find this is more opportunity, or would you find that it's you got to be careful on where you're moving in the next couple of years?
Opportunity for who?
For the normal investor, the normal first-time home buyers, sellers to get out of the market if it's going to crash.
Oh yeah, I mean if you're a seller right now, you have more equity than ever. But the whole magic question is, where do I go? And that's the biggest issue here. Where I see opportunity is in new construction. I think builders are going to have to start building more houses. I think where cities and towns are going to have to get a little bit more lenient in zoning laws and maybe even incentivize builders. Because what we have is a supply shortage. There is not enough inventory to meet the demand. So until something frees up there, you're at this kind of standstill, or even with prices that just keep appreciating.
Yeah.
So if I'm an investor, if I'm looking to do something, I'm going to learn how to build. I want to get really good at working on land deals and figuring out how to make these lots buildable, working with towns, working with different communities and different kind of boards, and get to know them and say, hey, how do I get this land buildable? Or taking lots that are 12,000 square feet and cutting them in half and building 2 6,000 square foot houses there. Yeah. Doing things like that. I think that's where a lot of the opportunity can come in the next couple of years, is building.
Yeah, and I can see that happening as well. And I've almost self-consciously went into that industry a little bit. I recently just got on with the local town board in my hometown, and I'm not only learning things that I didn't learn before, but it's people are incentivizing those builders now. The new Chapter 41B now makes a little small portion of Plymouth County, low-income residential to the suburbs of Boston. Which goes to show you, it's like, okay, so they're going to give out tax incentives to those low-income people, build houses for them, get them a place to live. But, I mean, people can look at that negatively all they want in a small town like Wareham. But, they are incentivizing builders. So I like that you point that out. And it's good to note that, we are very low in inventory. I mean, my sellers I just dealt with, clients, I mean, they want to rent until they find something.
Yeah, no, you're getting what I call a lot of buyer's fatigue out there, where there are a ton of buyers who've been going through the process and they're just tired of it. They're tired of being outbid. They're tired of losing contingencies. They're just flat out done with the market. But then what? That puts them on the sideline for a year, 2 years, jumping back into this market, which is even more competitive, even more price point, even higher monthly payments.
Yeah. I mean, what? You just go to the difference between 2020 and 2023. We're going to 2024 now. The difference in a house payment has changed. If we can get a number, I don't want to just quote it here, but I think the price change was an extra $950 every single month on average.
Yeah, that's probably it. I would say if you look at a $500,000 house at a 3% rate and a $500,000 house at an 8% rate, you're probably seeing right around that $1,000 a month increase.
which is crazy. That's another $12,000 a year
Yeah,
that you
for the exact same house, someone is spending $1,000 more a month than someone who bought 3 years ago.
But it goes to show you, don't necessarily wait because the market's bad. Take advantage of what you can have now, the opportunity me and you were just talking about.
Yeah,
Could be new construction.
and do it when you're ready.
Yeah, do it when you're ready. That's a good point as well. You know, a lot of people think we try to push it on people to buy.
No.
But it's an experience for them, right? If it's the first house, it's just second house, it doesn't matter. As long as they're happy with the end result here, I mean,
But it has to line up with what their real goals. If you're a home buyer right now, you have to set real goals. Hey, I want to buy a house. This is real. I'm going to work on it. And I'm going to step into some type of systems and be like, okay, I want to get into XYZ house in XYZ area within the next 2 years, 1 year, whatever it may be. Sit down with a realtor and come up with a plan for that. And understand you're not going to hit on the first house. You may not hit on the first 10. Who knows? You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that your realtor's not doing a good job necessarily. Yeah. It's a competitive market. Yeah. And depending on what your budget is and what you're looking to do, that matters. That's all going to play into a factor. Yeah. But the worst thing to do is just sit on the sideline and hope something changes. Yeah. Take control of your life. Take control of the situation and go in at it.
I like that. Those are some very good words from Cory right there. I like that. Take advantage. Go for it. Stop saying I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it this year. If you want the house, get the house, right?
And that doesn't mean that you're overpaying. We're not saying we're trying to take advantage. Nothing like that. But if your goal is to buy a house, you have to be aggressive. You have to be competitive right now.
You do. You certainly do. I mean, houses right now are going sometimes $20,000, $30,000 over asking. Yep. And it's because people are willing to fight for the price that they want.
Yeah, it still is. Again, during COVID, we were seeing things like $100,000 over ask, $80,000 over ask. We're not seeing that as much because now pricing has caught up. Or I should say list pricing has caught up to demand. But you're still seeing it. I call them the Pinterest houses. If it's pretty and it looks like it's right out of a magazine, it's still flying.
Yeah. I mean, the one we just dealt with in Berkeley, I mean, although it was on market for a little bit longer, you saw people really like features about it. You saw people that say, but it's a little expensive.
You're starting to see that.
You hear that a lot with the home buyers right now. And I know, right now it's not in a buyer's eyes, it's not the best ideal time to buy. And as we're explaining here, it may be for you if it's in your plans, but I feel a lot of them just need to be more informed about what's going on. I feel like the way the media's, putting it out, and then the way they get advice from their cousins that were in real estate 20 years ago, they're not the sometimes best informed. And I think sitting down and explaining to, people tuning into the podcast, staying yourself informed with what's going on in the economy. Rates may seem high, but it's not the end of the world. It's really not. You don't have to be scared when people talk about interest rates and how the economy is, slowing down and home prices may be dropping. It's not a big deal. It really isn't.
It's a trade-off. Obviously, the rates going higher is not ideal for anyone. No home buyer wants that. It's interest. It's like giving away free money is what people think of it. But you have to look, if this same home buyer that doesn't want to pay the high rate was the same home buyer where you stepped back a year ago and said, hey, to get this house, you can't have a home inspection. To get this house, you got to eliminate your contingencies. You got to give the seller your firstborn, basically. So there's always going to be something. So there's always going to be something. So with that, you have to figure out kind of what the trade-off is.
Yeah. Well, we're getting yelled at by the director over here where our mics are blocking our faces here. All right. We got this.
Just me.
Well, no, and this is very valuable insight to anyone who's looking at buying a house. And if you are, definitely give us a shout. Cory DaSilva here, broker at Revolve Real Estate. I am an agent as well. I mean, we could certainly help out with anything. But in terms of getting your feet wet, I know we talked a little bit about saving money and how we can get into homes. But what is 3 pieces of advice, Cory, you think that any prospective home buyer should have in their pocket? I want to know that, and we'll wrap up.
I wish you prepared me for some of these things.
Throw them at you.
3 pieces of advice.
3 pieces of advice.
I guess the first one, get pre-approved, right?
Yep, pre-approved.
So get pre-approved. Know your numbers. And that kind of ties back into the education side of things. Know what you can actually afford. And even when you get a pre-approval, and if it's the top-end number, know what that payment is going to be. Actually know what that payment is going to be. Because what's happening now is we have a lot of deals falling apart because a buyer goes in, they're like, oh, I'm pre-approved for 450. Awesome. I'm going to give 450 for this house. All of a sudden, the offer gets accepted. They see that monthly payment, and it's like, whoa, that's a lot more than what I thought.
Yep.
So that's something that I think is first and foremost, know what you can actually budget. And then what I tell some buyers is, okay, cool. You're in the process of buying a house. Your mortgage is going to be $2,500 a month. Start to live your life that way. Take the $2,500, put it into a savings account every single month. That way your family, whether it's just you or your family, whatever it is, starts to live life without that $2,500 anymore.
It comes into a mental.
Yeah,
Okay.
where you're, okay, that money's gone. It's 2,500, 25. You're building the routine where you have 20, and you, again, put it into a separate account. Put it into your down payment account. You can save it. But you start to train yourself, train your life, train everyone around you, kids, spouses, everyone. I think it's important that they all understand, hey, this is a big commitment for all of us. We all need to learn what our lifestyle is going to be like without this $2,500 a month right now.
That's interesting. No, that's actually really good. I've never heard that, actually. That's amazing. And if you think about it, yeah, if I can mentally just throw $2,500 in a bank account that I would be using towards my mortgage, I mean, that makes sense.
You adjust your lifestyle to it. I think the other one is have realistic expectations. Sit down and say, okay, what are my needs? What are my wants? And understanding the difference between needs and wants is really, really important. Like a need may be, hey, I need a garage because I got 6 cars. Okay, well, garage is important. Well, do you need a 2-car garage if you're driving a bike to work every day?
No.
It's different. I know that's the extremes there, but the needs and the wants. I want 1 acre in Fall River. Okay, well, that's not really realistic right now either. You know what I mean? So I think being realistic with your needs and your wants and sitting down and, again, having that conversation with all of the decision makers. Hey, what is this going to be? You'd be so surprised where I'll talk to a wife and they'll say one thing. I talk to the husband and they're on totally different paths of what they actually want out of a house. So I think communication from all the decision makers is another huge one.
And my next question to that: how does that conversation look? I know we run through a lot of LP Mama and different strategies to get what we're looking for out of this conversation. But what does that conversation look like to a brand new couple? Let's just say Steve and Joanne, they want to go buy their first house in Fall River, and they're looking for like a three bedroom, 1 bath, nice to start a family in. What does that conversation look like when you first sit down with them? They have no knowledge of anything. What are the first things you point out to those people?
So this ties right into my last tip. Yep. Get out there. Stop looking at houses on your phone and on the computer. You're going to look endlessly. You can spend hours just sitting there scrolling. These houses look totally different than what they do on the computer, I'll be honest. We all have creative photography. We all have editing. The grass is very, very green. We're using wide-angle lenses. That's the reality of what we're doing. But you need to know what 1,600 square feet looks like. You need to know when you're looking at these numbers and bedroom size and square footage and lot size, what's the real world of that? What's a 10 by 10 bedroom? Going out there, even if you're not ready, even if it's 1 year, that's okay. We know what that's like. It's part of our job. We're not in it for one showing and done and we're going to leave. We're here to help you. I call it kind of building your taste. Let's go look at a 1,700 square foot. Let's go look at a colonial versus a ranch versus the raised ranch. Because these are things that people don't experience. They don't know what they mean. Go there, go visit these properties, walk around, envision what your life is like in them. I think that's a huge part. That way, when you're looking online and you're looking at that beautiful house, but it's 900 square feet, people are coming from a 1,200 square foot apartment.
Yeah, and
they're downsizing, and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize what 900 square feet was." Yeah. So again, it all goes back to kind of getting educated, but it's having a good team around you and a good plan, and that's what sets up a successful home buying process.
That is honestly some of the best advice ever, Cory. I hope anyone listening to this takes that advice as very lightly as it comes, because I mean every experience is different, right? People want to buy maybe a year from now, and realistically they're 4 or 5 years away, right? You got those people that want to walk into those $1 million houses.
I'm not a realtor for a year. I'm a realtor for life. I tell everyone that whether you want to buy now, next year, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in this for the rest of my life. Yeah. So whatever I can do now to provide value, let's do it.
I like that. The truer words, right? I mean, right there. Cory has an exceptional way about handling clients, and the way he goes about it, I say, is very unique from anyone does. And what I really respect about Cory is his sense of patience with it all. I know you're talking here about like let's build your taste, let's go do this, let's go do that. You're not shying away from the work it takes. I feel like a lot of agents that come in see these buyers, they say, oh, these guys want to go 5 houses, 6 houses, 8 houses. I mean, we've recently seen in the office people just driving around everywhere, you know, and then not putting in offers. So Cory has a way of taking that patience and also putting his foot down a little bit. You've seen 20 houses here. What about this one? Why didn't you like this one? You know, you find what they want. You're building their taste, and that's what I really respect.
And I think that's the thing is sometimes I call us kind of glorified therapists. Being a real estate agent is where the emotional we should wear the emotional burden of the process for our clients. It's what our jobs is. It's to provide service. So yeah, whether they want to look at 10 houses, 20 houses, it's a massive decision buying a home, and it should be treated with that seriousness as well. Hey, I don't want you to buy something if you don't like. If you want to see 20 houses, we can see 20 houses. But the other part that goes back to setting realistic expectations is obviously we all have busy lives. We all have schedules. We all have other clients. So if I'm going to give you this attention, I have no problem giving you this attention. But I need to know that your intention is serious. Attention, intention there. I said two different words. But I need to know that the intent behind it is to actually buy a house at the end of the day. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people, I don't want to call them tire kickers, but maybe they're not emotionally ready. And that's okay. But if you're telling me, hey, I want X, Y, Z, and we've looked at 2 or 3 houses that check X, Y, and Z, well, it's time to have a conversation again and say, hey, is X, Y, and Z what you really wanted? Or were you just hoping we were never going to find that? And now that we've found it, there's another issue there, because I've had that as well.
Commitment, yep.
It's fear of commitment. There'll be, again, husband and wife, for example, boyfriend, girl, whatever it is, 2 people that want to buy a house. Well, one of them will put these requirements, hoping that no house will ever hit those requirements. And you'd be stunned. Sometimes I walk in and I tell people, and you could just tell right on their face, you like this more than you wanted to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they'll say, yeah, and that's the reality of it. That's okay too, but just be honest with me. If you tell me, hey, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I can get that. Yep. But just showing after showing, and you're nervous still, and you're scared, okay, well, let's talk about next steps. What scares you about the process? Is it the money? Okay, well, here's the monthly payment. How does that fit into your life? Is it all of the things that need to be done around the house? Okay, well, here's what homeownership looks like. If you're nervous or you have questions, that's okay, ask those. But just sitting behind and trying to kind of self-sabotage a little bit, which a lot of us do, because we're scared to be uncomfortable, or we're scared to ask questions, or we're scared to look dumb or be nervous. No, these are the same fears that a lot of home buyers have. Talk to us, communicate with us.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yes,
that's what we're here for. We provide a service, and I mean, as a client, that relationship is supposed to be one of trust, one of, okay, look, my opinion, this is your opinion.
We have a fiduciary duty to our clients, and we really, really follow that every step of the way. We work in your best interest, solely your interest.
No. Listen, Cory has some amazing advice, and I know we're running out a little bit of time here. I know we want to keep this a little short, but Cory, those are some amazing pointers. Okay. I'm so glad we got that out to the viewers out there. You know, I want to thank you first of all for coming on. You're the first guest here. So
Joe, I am humbled and honored. I actually texted you asking if I could be the first person.
Where we'll cut that part.
No, truly. Again, we're at the end of this video here. Joe came to us about a year ago, and over the last 6 months, I've watched him turn his life around. He is developing into a young man on the side of me, and again, I know I'm no old man saying it, but it's truly an honor to watch him grow. So I'm here to help him every step of the way, and I look forward to watching you work and better serve more clients.
Listen, Cory, I love everything about that. We can't forget our friend Antara behind the desk over there.
Thank you, Mr. Antara.
You guys can't see him, but he's doing a great job over there in director's seat. So, I mean, guys, this was the Still Talking podcast, and I mean,
this man is still talking,
and we're still talking. So, I mean, that's really all we have today. Cory, any last remarks? If not, we'll close this thing out.
No, thank you, everyone. Joe, I appreciate it. Feel free, anyone, if they're looking to buy or sell a house, call Joe. He's the man.
All right, guys, listen, call me. Don't call Cory.
Nope. Listen, I'm just the man behind the scenes. That's it.
Listen, guys, it was been a great podcast. I love Cory for being on here. We'll be on for the next one Wednesday.
Let's do it.
See you again.
Thank you.